Hello,
Hello,
and welcome to another episode of Cinema Affairs.
my name is Sophie,
My name is Mimi.
and we are so happy that you guys are here. And today we're gonna talk about all time favorites that have been nominated at the Oscars. We're gonna give you guys some really good ideas of what to watch if you are out of ideas or somehow have not watched these movies.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about five of our favorite Oscar nominated movies.
But I guess we're also gonna give you at the end a list of what, like 20 ideas?
If you want to watch actually good
Yeah,
Oscar nominated movies.
actually amazingly made movies.
And we're going to start with our favorite.
It is the one that we are both agreeing it's our favorite, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Poor Things.
Oh, poor thing is amazing. We even have it here.
Actually, Queen Emma Stone is right here
Queen.
watching every
Queen.
single episode we
Yeah.
do.
I think we kind of talk about her before every single episode, or am I wrong? Somehow we end up talking about her.
Yeah, but like, I don't think on camera.
Yeah, some not never on camera, but
We
now
just
is the
like to
time.
yap about Emma
Yeah,
Stone
yeah.
every day.
I said after I saw Poor Things, I said that in my perspective, Poor Things is the ultimate feminist movie.
Yes, but not in an aggressive way.
Yeah,
It's
not in
like
a
you wouldn't say it's a
yeah.
feminist movie.
Yeah, but that's what's so beautiful about it. That is so metaphorically and subtly done that it's enjoyable. It's not screaming into your face.
It's a 2 hours movie, a very easy watch about this girl named Bella Baxter, who,
Amazing.
well, I mean, it's hard to say it's about Bella Baxter in the beginning. It's about this woman who commits suicide, and her body is found by this
Crazy scientist?
unorthodox scientist.
An orthodox scientist, yes.
He picks her body up and transfers the brain of a baby into her head.
Yeah.
So this grown up woman has the brain of a baby.
Yeah. And she goes on to discover life like that. And we discover life through her lens, basically.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they explore themes like sexuality through her baby brain.
Yeah. I think that's one of the parts that a lot of people had a problem with. Like they just felt uncomfortable by it in a sense.
Right, yeah. I think what's the best part about this mature woman having a baby brain is that she does not understand social shaming.
Yeah.
She does not have any idea what being,
Socially acceptable means.
yeah,
And she's not trying to be, which is amazing.
she does not know social constructs.
Yeah, because I guess that was, in a sense, the idea of the experiment. Because she was an experiment. They tried to raise a very open child, in a sense, and just let her experience life without being told what she should experience. And I found it so interesting how she experiences, like happiness and pain and seeing other people suffer. Like suffering was amazing, and her understanding the differences in society and in classes.
Yeah, and I think it's the best ever portrayal of how a person would actually look like if it was not raised into a society.
Yeah, if it was led to believe anything they wanted to believe, like led to experience it truly
Yeah,
without being put ideas in their head.
she was giving this feeling of pure liberation.
And it was very interesting to see how she started to get acquainted with philosophical ideas.
Yeah.
And she started to just put them in practice. And I love that. I love the way that they, I don't know, just express the idea of my body, my choice, and how she understood just how to take ownership of her body in a very unconventional way. But I really liked it.
I think she was lacking emotional maturity, which was fair because how would have she gotten it? At the same time, I think she lacked soul. She was good, but in not in the classical sense of a good character. You know, she was good in a very innocent way.
She was
but
very genuine, yes.
but
She was, yeah.
I don't think she had the power to fall in love. For example.
I think she loved her dad. I think she loved her father because she is sad when, he's dying and everything at the end. She
Yeah.
definitely loved her dad. But I think I think she didn't experience love as ownership the way that a lot of us understand it. You know, like if you love me, you're mine. And she didn't have that. She didn't have this idea that you have to belong to someone or someone has to belong to you. She was very free in that sense.
Which I thought was truly brilliant
Yeah.
because I personally don't believe in that either. I think if you really love a person, you will let that person do whatever their soul desires.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that movie portrayed this so well.
No, I completely agree. And I thought she was stunning in the movie. And I loved what they did. It was very similar to what we talked about in La La Land, how they made up her world when she starts discovering so big and so colorful and so amazing. And as the time passes by and she discovers the world a lot more, the images start to resemble more and more normalcy and how we experience it now, just because, you know, like she's not amazed by by everything anymore, which I thought was brilliant.
And my favorite part was when she discovered her sexuality in a more intense way for the first time, let's say it like that, because she was very curious. So she decided to become a prostitute. But it was not what you would have expected.
That's the thing. Even that part of her life, she just engaged in it with so much curiosity and an open mind, and with so much just open communication, which was so funny. But that's exactly why, because she doesn't have a social construct of shame of, oh, you're not supposed to say this. Like she just,
Yeah, and
oh,
she
you're not doing it right, or this doesn't feel good, let's try something else, which was very
and
interesting.
it was also like so striking how she would have sex with those men that looked disgusting and she wouldn't feel anything
Yeah,
because she doesn't know the concept of ugly, beautiful, disgusting, whatever. She's
yeah.
like so
She's just taking it as it comes,
yeah, she's
and I
like so
love that.
neutral.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was very interesting.
No, I
So
thought it was amazing. You know that after I came out of Poor Things, I was going home and I actually cried as I was going home because I cried of happiness that this movie
me
exists.
too. Oh my god, I swear when the movie was towards the ending, I started feeling like tears of joy for
Yeah,
seeing this movie. I was like,
exactly,
this is the
exactly.
type of art I signed up for cinematography, you know?
Yeah,
Like this is the type of art that makes me want to be a filmmaker.
yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I was so happy this movie exists and that I live in a timeline where I had a chance and the opportunity to watch it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful movie. If we didn't convince you yet, honestly, nothing else will convince you.
And the problem is you, not us.
Let's talk about Oppenheimer. I will let you start because I feel like when I saw Oppenheimer, I had my own agenda for some reason. And even though I loved the performances, I had some sort of problems with this movie. And it's not that I regret it now, but I do understand that I should have watched it with another lens.
Oppenheimer is a movie that will break your heart into pieces.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's a very smart movie. You need to be really committed to it if you are planning to watch it. You're not gonna decide to watch it on a day when you're super
Oh,
tired.
definitely not. Or
And
if you're sad, don't watch it. It's just gonna
yeah,
make
or
you even
it's
sadder.
not the type of movie you'd watch with a bunch of friends and joke about. You need to really concentrate to understand it because it's also like said in a very difficult to get timeline if you're not used to actually watching movies and trying to understand what's said behind the images.
Although I'm gonna say that I feel like Christopher Nolan was very aware of the fact that this was a very hard to understand and follow movie, and that's why he used certain, I don't know, artistic choices. For example, to use black and white for a certain timeline and color for another timeline, so you have some sort of differences, and your brain can understand. Oh wait, I'm somewhere else now.
Right, but it took me some time to understand what does he want to do with this black and white.
Oh, okay.
It's not that easy to understand if you're not fully committed to it. Anyway, it's a story about the man who created the nuclear bomb.
And honestly, that kind of sums it up, but in the best way because they understood what they were doing. That's the whole movie, and that's what's brilliant about it because it does keep you engaged throughout the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, I found it a bit long, but it might have just not been exactly my cup of tea, and I understand that completely because, as I've told you before, I actually really love long movies, and a lot of the times I love slow burns. I don't have a problem with them. It's just I don't think Oppenheimer was exactly my cup of tea.
It felt like a very long movie indeed, and I think they could have probably taken out a couple bits.
Yeah, I thought Killian Murphy was amazing. I thought he did an amazing character, and yeah, he just did the performance of his life up until that point. I think he's amazing in everything. And also, I thought Robert Downey Jr. did an amazing villain. He was so good as an anti hero, and yeah, I loved him as well. He was so entertaining to watch and follow, and just their chemistry throughout the entire movie was amazing.
And I think because we were talking about this before we started filming, it's easy to blame the main character for not actually caring that he will create a tool with which people are going to be killed. Masses of people are going to be killed. But to be fair, he essentially was just a man who wanted to succeed at what he's doing. And he did not imagine how much of an impact his creation would have until the creation was completed and he saw the final result and what it was going to be done with that tool.
I feel like that was one of my problems initially when watching Oppenheimer. I just felt like the filmmakers didn't take the responsibility, like they didn't take full responsibility about what they were making this movie about. I just, for me, and I'm not saying they had to do it. I understood after that, I might have put my own agenda into this, but I would have liked to see a bit more remorse about the fact that they made a film about the nuclear bomb and all the tragedy that it brought with it, basically.
I felt like he was devastated by the impact the nuclear bomb had.
No, I get that, and that happened in like at the end of the film. But it just, for me, I feel like the entire film was made for this to feel like a celebration, and it's not. But again, it doesn't. That's not what they were following, and that's not what they wanted to do. That, and if I would be to make this film, I would probably make it different. But that doesn't discount how they made it and the fact that this movie is made in a brilliant way.
Yeah, no, I think you have a point, but at the same time, I can see why they did it like this
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
also wanted to show his side of the story. Because if he knew he was going to do something so destructive, he would have probably never done it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I get that, and it took me a bit of time to actually get that fact and understand this movie from a different lens. But I must tell you that even after I got out of the cinema and I had my fair share of problems with the story, I was very impressed by it. I was impressed by the fact that like they made an entire new type of film for this movie, which is so impressive that they put the time into doing that. They didn't use any CGI. Every single thing that we see, they actually shot it in some way or another, which is very, very impressive. I don't know. I was very impressed with all the technicalities that they used to make this movie as authentically as they could.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable whenever you see a movie that you really like to also watch the interviews or
Yeah,
possibly
definitely.
the making of if you can find it, because you'll discover so many interesting things about that movie and you're going to start seeing it from different lens.
Yeah, definitely. On a different lens, the next one on this list is Parasite, which until I saw Poor Things has been my favorite movie. I loved Parasite. What did you
My
think about it?
I loved Parasite too. I watched it at the cinema in 2020 when it was released, and I was completely stunned by it. Like, I was impressed. It was one of the films that made me love even more this
Yeah,
industry. I thought it was brilliant. The story
it
is
was
just so
amazing.
complex and well thought, and such a clear illustration of the gap between social classes.
Yeah, the movie, basically, to give the people some context, it's about this poor family in Korea. It's a mom, a dad, and their two children. And basically, they're trying to find a means to make some money. Through deceiving and lying, all of them end up being employed by this very wealthy family. And then at the end, everything goes down, and a lot of people end up being killed. This is without giving too many spoilers. This movie was a metaphor within itself, which I loved. I thought it was very smartly done. I think it used cinematography and the construction of the set amazingly. Even the title, Parasite, like just trying to explain how this wealthy family was looking. at these poor people and how they were perceiving them, even though, they are too smart to say it.
Yeah, it's a very accurate illustration of how the dynamics work
Yeah.
between rich people and poor people. And it's honestly heartbreaking to witness it from the perspective of the audience. But at the same time, I think they took it to the next level with the
Oh,
whole
definitely.
killing in the end.
But the thing that I loved about it was that it wasn't put there just to be there. It was explained. Like every single thing that happened in this movie, it was never just something that happened out of the blue and I was like, why is this happening? I
Yeah.
understand why this is happening. This is making so much sense. And, like I'm here for it to
Yeah.
see how it unfolds.
The story was completely comprehensible.
Yeah, and it was very thoughtful and it was really, really complex. And every single character was complex. That's something that I loved about this movie, and I love about movies like this, that when they actually think as every single character as individuals and not just to be there, to have another person.
Yeah.
They actually have their own personality that reflects that, and it has their own roles in the story,
Yep.
which was amazing.
And the ending, I think it's just iconic. And I think it has a very powerful ending because it does not give you hope of something better happening
Yeah.
into their lives. It's just this poor guy going back home to his basement apartment, which symbolizes his
Trapped
position,
there.
and
Yeah,
yeah, and his position into the social
exactly.
class that he was in from the beginning and is still in until the
Yeah.
end, and the promise he makes to his father.
Basically, at the end, his father is trapped in the wealthy family's house,
Yeah.
and the son is trying to, I don't know, like write his letter probably to himself more than to his father, because he's never gonna get to actually send it. That he's gonna grow up and make money and buy the house and free his father. But then the movie finishes with him being in this basement apartment, and you just know that they're trying to say that that's just a dream that will never come true.
And he's never gonna make it. He's never
Yeah.
gonna buy the house. His father is gonna die there, and nobody's gonna pick up his body, which is sad, but like true.
Yeah, I love the fact that they were so honest with the story, and they were so honest with, in a sense, how hard it is to go from one social class to the other.
Hard, almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's the idea, that it is impossible. It's so hard. You need generations to overcome that, and they just show that perfectly.
So strongly recommend to
Yeah, if
you.
you wanna be depressed, go
Parasite is a
on,
great
watch
movie.
it.
Next on our list is Whiplash.
I love Whiplash. I love everything that Damien Chazelle has ever made. I've seen, I think, almost everything, and La La Land is definitely one of his best. But let's talk about Whiplash.
His movies have so much soul.
It has so much heart in them. Yeah,
And
definitely.
like, I think he does his movies for a higher purpose, and that's what I appreciate most about the
Yeah.
director. And I think Whiplash is a very motivational movie.
I feel like, though, you can see in his movies that he has a recurring theme, the one of sacrificing everything for a dream. He likes to portray people who just care about their dreams more than anything else.
And I think if you want to really care about your dream, you should probably watch Whiplash.
Yeah, it's a story about the tortured artist, I would say, tortured with his art and for his art. It's about this guy who is very passionate about drumming, right?
Yes.
And he enrolls in the school with this very exigent and hard on him teacher. And yeah, that teacher basically hates him. I'm not gonna lie, I can't even explain it any other way. I can't be nice about it. But he ends up sacrificing a lot and a lot of himself to make that teacher happy, until I think he realizes that if he wants to be a great artist, he needs to please himself and not the teacher.
That pretty much sums it up. I'm not gonna go too much into details because
Yeah.
I've seen it a couple years ago, but I remember it's a great movie and I think everyone should see it.
Yeah, and just so you know, I won't say it's a hard watch, because I feel like it's quite straightforward to watch and understand it, as most of Damien Chazelle's movies. But I do think it strikes a chord in everyone, especially people who are very into their career, and
Yeah.
they have this idea that, oh, I will sacrifice everything for it. And I feel like this movie, for some of you, it will be like, oh yeah, go do that, you go and sacrifice everything. But for some other people, are gonna be like, is it actually worth it?
I think it's more about how art develops inside you.
Oh yeah, I can see that. But I think besides that, or on, on the same level, it's also how much are you willing to sacrifice for this, and is it actually worth it? And the last one on our list is actually,
A movie released last year and obviously nominated, and it's called The Zone of Interest.
I love The Zone of Interest.
It's such a smart movie.
Yeah, it was amazing.
A slow burn, a
Depressing.
beautiful depiction of the gap between social classes again, but in the years of the Holocaust.
It's really heartbreaking, but it's not an on the nose movie. It's very quiet. It's
Yeah,
very just fly on the wall type of cinematography. You're just observing everything, but it just gives you clues. And at some point, when you put the puzzle together, you understand how terrible and tragic everything that's happening it is.
it's a type of movie that you would probably not understand right after you watch it, and you'll
Yeah.
think about it for the next couple of days, maybe a week or so.
Or you
And
will want to watch it again,
yeah,
definitely.
or like you're gonna want to watch reviews to understand what did that person mean when,
Yeah.
for example, the part when the girl was picking up apples.
Oh yes.
I was like,
That
what's
took me a
going on?
second. That took me a second, but for me, The Zone of Interest was the kind of movie that I finished it. I got out of the cinema and I couldn't talk for 20 minutes because it just my brain was still going through everything that happened.
Yes, it's a very hard movie to process.
It was. It's hard to process. It's hard to process because of what's happening in the movie, but also because of the way that they're depicting it. And it's very smart. It's such a new and interesting lens to take on this story. It's heartbreaking story.
So let's talk about the story.
So the story is quite straightforward. It's nothing that complicated to be fair to explain. It's about this German family who is living in their house with like a big garden and very luxurious house. I think the father is one of the captains of the army.
I think when the movie starts, it shows how they have taken that house from some Jewish people, right? It was not their house in the beginning, was it? Because I
I
remember there was this big four and some lipstick inside the pocket of the four, and
Oh, I get
it
what
was
you
taken
mean.
from the Jewish
Yeah, you're
people.
so right about that.
It was basically they were showing that Germans were taking everything from Jewish people and acting like it was their right to
Yeah,
take,
and their own to take.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
all of
right.
this stuff. And after they were taking everything from them, they were putting them into,
Concentration camps.
yes.
Yeah, and the whole idea of this movie is that their wall from the garden is the same wall as the concentration camp.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
basically neighbors with the concentration camp, and they
and
live
yeah,
behind the wall.
I would highly recommend not taking any snacks to this movie because you really have to hear what's happening. That's the whole idea of interest. That the score and the music and the sounds are the film, basically, not what you see. What you see is quite common and nothing interesting really happens with the image, but the
Yeah.
sound is everything about it.
Yeah, and it kind of shows how this family, this happy, perfect family, is living behind the fence of true horrors. And the wife is completely unaware
Yeah, she doesn't care.
of how privileged she is.
Yeah.
And she doesn't care about what's happening behind the fence. And at some point, her mom comes visiting, and her mother cannot stand it. She has to leave because she cannot live next to all of those horrors. And the daughter just doesn't understand, like, why did you leave? Did you not like my garden? Is the type of attitude she has, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And at that point, you're starting to ask yourself, because you're aware of the war happening in the world right now, you're starting to ask yourself, am I the person behind the fence?
Yeah.
Because I'm standing right here thinking I cannot do anything. But can I really not do anything?
Or am I just choosing to ignore it for
Yeah.
my own benefit? Yeah.
Which is such a transforming experience.
Yeah.
And like, you have to watch it.
It's amazing, and honestly, I feel like for me, from my opinion, the Zone of Interest is definitely the hardest watch of what we talked about up until this
Yes,
point,
yes,
because I feel like it's probably the most like artistic, metaphorical one out of the five of them that we just talked about. but it's definitely worth watching. It's worth watching reviews about. Even the fact that you took the time to listen to us, honestly, is great, because if you choose to watch it from this moment on, you're gonna have a better understanding that maybe even we had when we went into watching
Yeah.
this film. I had no idea what it was about. Like, I went completely blind.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't
Yeah.
even watch
A trailer.
yeah.
Yeah, but I love to do that. I never watch trailers of movies.
I don't watch trailers either because
Yeah.
you know some directors made the trailers in this way that after you watch the trailer you've basically seen the movie.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's nothing new to experience in the cinema because you've already seen everything in those 2 minutes, and that's I think the worst thing you can do with a trailer. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
But yeah, highly recommend watching this. It's an amazing film. It's an amazing watch.
Yes, and I think all of these movies mentioned by us are life-changing movies.
Yeah, definitely.
If you are looking at them in a way that you want to commit with these movies and actually understand them, not just like watch a movie.
And also understand how they might apply to your life, or how they impacted you, like even historically, what happened that impacted you nowadays.
And with that being said, let's go through our main general list. How would we call it?
To watch in this lifetime.
Those other movies are just
Amazing watches, watches that will enrich your understanding of cinema and just your culture in general. Yeah.
So let me tell you what we have here. The Shape of Water is a very good movie, which
Yeah.
I know I really loved, but I don't remember much of it.
The Shape of Water, funny enough, I think was the movie who finally and forever got me into cinema for some
Okay.
reason. Yeah, because like I was fascinated from before, but for some reason, The Shape of Water really coincided with my period of really truly diving into being a cinephile and learning about this and having a true love for movies.
Okay. The next one is Pulp Fiction, one of the best movies ever made.
Definitely. And honestly, anyone who is obsessed with movies has probably seen this one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Then we have Past Lives, which is one of my personal favorites. And I think it's such a mature story and emotionally mature story about love and how love can transcend everything and how love can be understood from different angles.
The next one is Schindler's List,
Schindler,
also about
yeah, the
Holocaust.
Holocaust. It's tragic. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. You're gonna cry your eyes out.
Yeah, but it's also about the goodness
Yeah.
of some people who also lived through Holocaust.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that goodness still exists in the world no matter what's happening.
Definitely, give it a watch. It's an amazing watch.
Yeah.
And then we have Lion.
Lion is a movie I've actually watched last year about this Indian boy adopted by a Australian family and the struggles he goes through in his journey into finding belonging. It's very deep, very emotional, a beautiful watch. It's just one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion.
I want to watch it. I didn't get a chance yet, but I can't wait. The next one on the list is Dead Poets Society. This one is a bit older, but again, this is one of my personal favorites. I watch it every single year. I cry every single year. I think I cry a lot. I think I cry at everything. Maybe
You're a
I'm the
big
problem.
crier.
I am. I'm such a big baby. What's wrong with me? But I feel this movie so profoundly within myself. And I think that Poet Society makes me cry because I can really relate to the main character, and I know that that could have been me in another life.
I honestly cannot wait to watch Dead Poet Society. So
Yeah.
many people have told me how good this movie is, and I don't know how I have not watched it yet.
It's amazing. Highly recommend. And Dead Poet Society is actually such an easy watch. It's very entertaining, but very profound at the same time. And it really puts in perspective why you need to follow your dreams and why your life will never be the same if you don't take that path that you want to take.
Life changing, it sounds.
Life changing it is.
The next two movies we've already spoken about in our Valentine's Day episode. So if you're interested in us yapping a bit more about movies, you can go watch that. It's about Call Me by Your Name with Timothée Chalamet and La La Land.
La La Land is amazing. It's one of the most perfect movies ever made, and highly recommend you go and watch our episode where we talk about it
The next one is Elvis.
with Austin Butler. Man, if you don't care about Elvis, just go and watch Austin Butler. I'm not even kidding. first things first, he's amazing. Then he's hot as fuck.
Yeah, you're gonna be so
Yeah.
into Elvis
You're
after
gonna
this movie.
definitely it's gonna like spark a love for you.
It's essentially a story about stardom and how it transforms people.
Yeah,
And it's
but
very interesting to watch.
and he's amazing. And for the people who are actually interested in cinema in general, I'm telling you, Elvis is a masterclass in editing. Watch this movie, then go and watch a review about editing this movie, and honestly, you're gonna learn a semester of film school. I'm not even joking. I'm not kidding. The next one that we have is, oh my god, is Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness. It's one of the funniest, most sarcastic social class portrayals that I've ever seen. It's with Harris Dickinson, who is amazing. This is how I discovered him for
I
this
love
movie.
Harris Dickinson.
And definitely go and watch it if you wanna have a laugh and also be more enriched and smart.
I'm definitely gonna watch Triangle of
Definitely.
Sadness. And the next one is Nightmare Alley, which I loved. I was at the cinema with two of my friends when I watched this movie, and I could see how smart it was made. And it's actually a remake after a movie that was made probably in the 20s, 30s.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I don't remember when exactly it was made, but I know it's a remake, and it's a very good one because it highlights a lot about how people always want to know more about themselves, and they always look for this outside instead of looking inside,
Oh, that's lovely.
and that how is arguably stupid.
I would love to watch it. I've never seen it
It's a
actually.
very good movie. I cannot tell you more about this now because we're almost at the end of the
Yeah.
podcast, but it's a really nice movie to watch.
What do we have there?
Avatar.
Avatar.
It's
Yeah.
another of
Yeah.
my all-time favorites. I think it's such a spiritual movie. It has so many moments when you can see the wisdom kind of put out there in front, but like hidden in plain sight, if that makes
I love
sense.
that.
And it's also a great commercial movie, let's face it.
Yeah, but it's beautifully made. I really enjoyed it. You know that Avatar was this film that when it came out, like the first one, my dad took me to see it, and I think I watched it 3 times.
I've actually watched the first Avatar and the second one in the same day.
Really
Yeah, I watched
crazy.
both of them when the second one was released because when Avatar first was released, I was young and everyone was talking about it. And I was going through this phase where I would not want to do what everybody else
Oh,
is
you're too
doing.
cool for us.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, you know what? If everybody has seen it, it's probably not worth it.
I can't. That's so funny.
Which is so false. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you were young. It's fine. Everyone goes through that.
yeah.
Like, I definitely was in that phase at some point or another. And our like last movie that we put on this list, but there are definitely more. Like, go and do your own research. But the last movie that we have here is Promising Young Woman, who was an amazing watch. I
Yeah.
love this film. I love the structure. I love the story. Again, a very feminist movie, but in the best way possible.
I think it was very empowering from a
Yeah. And
female
very
perspective.
entertaining. It was amazingly done. It's so interesting. It's so fun to watch, but not fun because it displays some terrible things.
Yeah, I was feeling so satisfied when it ended. I was
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yes.
Oh, it has the most satisfying ending I've ever seen on screen. Or maybe not the most, but up there with my top five.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's
It's a
great.
great movie.
It's great. It's so good.
And that was our list of Oscar all-time favorites.
Yeah, and the must watches that you definitely have to see. Thank you so much for being here with us and listening to us up until this point. If you liked it, definitely subscribe to us because we're going to do this weekly.
And if there are any other movies that you would like us to review, please leave them in the comments because we are taking in consideration every single comment.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye
Bye.
bye.